Hello and welcome to Absolute Value Equations. This is the start of Algebra 2 materials. Some of you may have seen this depending on your Algebra 1 experience, but most of you have not seen this. And so today we're going to talk about absolute value equations and how to solve them. So you need your pencil, calculator, and your notebook, and we'll get started. You don't need to write this down, but we need to talk about what does absolute value mean? Well, absolute value means if I have the absolute value of -6, that's 6. If I have the absolute value of 7, that's 7. And we always just know it's positive. But why do we always get a positive value? And that is what we really need to talk about. It's important to know the why, not just because it happens. So, you might want to write this down because this is kind of important. This is the why. Absolute value represents the distance from 0. It is the distance, and distance is always positive. So that is why it is positive. So the absolute value of 3 is 3 because 3 is 3 units away from 0. A distance of 3 from 0. -3 equals 3 because -3 is also 3 units away from 0, or a distance of 3 away from 0. So it's really important that you understand that absolute value means distance. That lays the foundation of everything we're going to talk about this week. What if we need to solve an equation that contains an absolute value? You don't need to write this one down, but let's talk about it and think. So this says something, the absolute value of something is equal to 5. Absolute value, remember, is the distance from 0. So what x value has the distance from 0 of 5 units? So if you need a visual representation, here it is. It could be 5 units on the positive side of the number line at 5, or it could be 5 units on the negative side, the left side of 0, which would be -5. So the solutions would be 5 and -5. Okay, let's take a look at another one. You don't need to write this down again, but again, let's talk about what this is meaning. So what does this say? This says something -3, the absolute value of it is equal to 4. Well, what does that mean? It means the distance from 0 is supposed to be equal to 4. So we are supposed to be, the expression needs to be 4 units away from 0. So 4 and -4. So if we take a look at the visual representation, we could say it could be at -4 and 4. What does that mean? That each expression is 4 units away from 0. So this expression is 4 units from 0, and this expression is 4 units from 0. Now, what does that mean when we're solving? It means that we can take each expression and set it equal to 4 or -4. And then we will have 2 locations that is a distance of 4 units away from 0. So if I were to solve this equation, I would add 3 to both sides, and I would get x equals -1. Or I could say I'd add 3 to both sides of this equation, and x would be 7. So those are the 2 distances, the 2 locations that make a distance of 4. There are 2 locations that satisfy that distance. So when we're talking about this expression, where is that expression? That absolute value, inside that absolute value, has to be a distance 4 units away from 0. Okay, so let's do this. You need your pencil. You need to write this one down. So what does it mean? It means distance. So when I'm looking at this problem, it says the absolute value of something -5 is equal to 7. So I take that and I set it equal to what's the distance? The 2 distances would be 7 units away and -7. Positive and negative on both sides of 0. So x -5 equals 7. And then I can say, and I can also say, x -5 is equal to -7. I add 5 to both sides and I get, oops, add 5, I get x equals 12. If I do this over here, I add 5 to both sides and I get x equals negative 2. So those are two answers or two solutions that make the equation true or satisfy the equation. So then we're going to check. Make sure, if you want to make sure this really works, let's plug it back into the equation. So anytime you want to make sure, we check. So 12, absolute value of 12 minus 5 equals 7. 12 minus 7, inside parentheses, 7. The absolute value of 7 is 7. Does 7 equal 7? Yes, it does. It checks. Let's do the next one. Plug in the negative 2. Absolute value of negative 2 minus 7 is negative 7. Is the absolute value of negative 7 is 7. Remember, that's a distance, and 7 does equal 7, so it also checks. All right, let's try another one. So, again, I'm going to take the x. What's the expression? Where does the expression have to be? Equal to 0, the distance. So it could be at 45 or negative 45. So we can say 5x minus 10 is equal to 45. Or 5x minus 10 is equal to negative 45. Now we're going to solve each one of these. And I get plus 10 on both sides. 5x equals 55. X equals 11. Or let's look at this one. Add 10 to both sides. 5x equals negative 35. X equals negative 7. And you could plug both of those in and check to make sure they both satisfy the equation. All right, here's another one. Our last one for today. And it says absolute value of 2x plus 12 is equal to 4x. Oh, and then it says check for extraneous solutions. This is a new word. This word means an extra solution. An extra solution that may not work, that will probably not work. It's just an extra solution. So we have to make sure that we're checking our solutions. So let's go ahead and do this problem. Okay, again, what does absolute value mean? It means the distance from 0. So there could be two possible distances from 0. The expression could be 4x, or the expression could be equal to negative 4x from 0. And then we're going to solve both of these. I'm going to subtract 2x from both sides here. I get 12 equals 2x, divide by 2, and I get x equals 6. And then what is my other solution? I'm going to subtract 2x, and I get 12 equals negative 6x. Divide both sides by negative 6, and I get x equals negative 2. Now, because the directions say there's check for extra solutions, there may or may not be a solution that will satisfy or make the equation true. So you always got to make sure that you're checking. So if I plug that 6 back up in there, 2 times 6 plus 12, absolute value of that equals 4 times 6. 2 times 6 is 12, plus 12 is 24. The absolute value of 24 is 24. Does that equal 24 on the right-hand side? Yes, it does. This checks, so it is a solution that makes the equation true. Now let's make sure the other equation or the other solution makes the equation true. So we will plug it in. 2 times negative 2 plus 12, absolute value of that, 4 times negative 2. 2 times negative 2 is negative 4 plus 12. Absolute value of that, absolute value of 8 is 8. Does that equal negative 8? 8 does not equal negative 8, so this solution is an extraneous solution. It's an extra solution that does not satisfy the equation. So always making sure that we check our solutions. And that's all I have for today, and we'll see you tomorrow. Thanks.